Okay, in this video we're going to be talking about angles of triangles and what those are all about. The big deal here is that the interior angles of a triangle add to 180. In other words, whatever this angle is here, whatever this angle is here, and whatever this angle is here, no matter what triangle it is, every single time, those three things will add to 180. Now they might be numbers, they might be variables and numbers, like a mix of algebraic stuff. But at any rate, you're just going to set up an equation where those things are equal to 180. That's important. So the sum of all of that is 180. Now let's talk about a little bit about why that is. So the first thing I want to show you is this activity here. If you take this and you did a folding paper activity, you would see how this works. So you would basically take this and you'd find the center of those and you'd fold this down, fold this guy down. Well, can you agree that both A's, the A up top here and the A down low there, are the same? It seems to make sense that they would be. So what I mean is this A right here is the same as this A prime right here. We just reflected it down, right? We've done a lot of reflections. The next thing you'd do is you'd fold across here and here. So you'd fold this edge in, and you'd fold this edge in, right? And you'd get that these angles, B prime and B, right, if I get this out of the way, these angles are the same, right, here, and these angles are the same. So all three of these angles are A, B, and C, just reflected down, and they are making a line. They're making a linear pair. But what do we know every single time we have a linear pair? Well, what do we know that A, B, and C all together must be? They must be 180 because they're forming a straight line here. So the measure between from, I guess here, this line right here, this line segment, to this line segment, all the way around here, that's 180. That's what we're trying to understand. There's another thing we want to talk about here. It's important. It's basically this right here. So we're talking about linear pairs for a second. So do you see what's going on here? Let's make that a little bit bigger. Well, no matter what I do, these two angles are sharing on a line, right? So like let's look at this, for example, 90 and 90, right? About. So this is 90, this is 90. And we can kind of see that visually. And together, 90 and 90 is 180. But if we were to take this and squish it down a little bit to 75, well, then this would be 105 because we've now opened this red part up. So when you're on a line like this, when you're adjacent angles next to each other on a line, sharing a side, right? And the other side that's not shared is making a straight line. So they're sharing a side, but the other side not shared is making a straight line. That's called a linear pair, and every single time, look what they add to. This number's not changing. They add to 180. They add to 180. And that doesn't matter where they really are. See that? These guys are going to add to 180, right? So if I move this down, this is almost 180 right here. You see the blue angle? And now this red angle's tiny, but together they're 180. Okay, together they're 180. Doesn't matter really where we are. Together, those two numbers are going to add to 180. Okay, no matter what. Together, those angles are going to add to 180. Okay, and this one makes a lot of sense right here, 90 and 90, which I'm trying to get back to. No success. There it is. So that's the deal, okay? The other thing that's interesting is that vertical angles are congruent. So when they're across from each other like scissors, it doesn't matter how this X is open. See, this is a perfect X, right? 90 and 90, right? That's a nice perfect X, right? Some people write their X's sloppy. They write them like this, or some people write them like this. However you make that X, these are all X's in a sense, the green and the blue are going to be the same exact measure. You close this opening, the green opening, you have to open the blue opening if these are straight lines. So these are all building blocks of where we're going with this. This is building blocks of how we understand this right here, that the sum of the angles is 180. And to tie that back in, I guess, is what I'm saying is that these guys right here kind of represent like that, darn, I can't write. These guys right here kind of represent that 180 right there, B prime, A prime, and C prime. Okay, so take my word on it. Make sure you have the date up here, please. So put the date. Take my word on it that these angles are going to add to 180. Does that make sense? And let's just talk about that real quickly, make sure we understand how to do that. So you should have this on your note paper. Let's look at this first problem here. Maybe you even know how to do this problem, so why don't you try this problem? I'm going to say now you try this problem, but I'm going to show you how to do this problem first. So on this green one, I'm going to take this angle right here, which is this stuff, which is x plus 28. I know it doesn't show up great on the video. And then this angle right here, I'm going to add it to x, right? And I'm going to add this third angle, which is, I guess that symbol represents 90, right? So all together, these things together, these three things added up, 1, 2, 3, should equal 180. And this is just a pretty straightforward equation to solve. X and x together is 2x. Okay. 28 and 90 together is 118. So that's where we are there, and the 180 is over here. So we're just solving a simple equation. We subtract 118, we'll have 62 is equal to 2x. I know I'm going a little fast there, but remember, we have hopefully mastered these two-step equations. So pause the video and try this problem. I'll be looking for it when I check, okay? So pause the video and make sure you try this problem right here, A. Give that a go, okay? And now we're going to move on. So hopefully you paused and tried that. Here we go. So a couple more that I'll try to do for you. They're pretty straightforward. Find the measures of the interior angle. So here's one, okay? So let's look at these three things. We want to add up the three angles to 180. So let me just like write a skeleton of the problem. Another way of thinking of this. Okay? So all of that is the skeleton of the problem. Okay? Now let's make these three angles and let's get them in three colors. Doesn't matter what angle you pick first. I pick 70. And then I'm going to go down here and pick this next angle, which is 70. Okay? And then I'll pick this third angle, which is, I guess, just x. And together, those three things must add up to 180. Well, we know that 70 and 70, if I go over here with a little bit extra space, I'm running out. 70 and 70 is 140, so we have 140 plus x equals 180. So that means x must equal 40 based on subtracting 140 on both sides, something that we kind of know. So x is 40, that means this angle right here, this guy, is 40 degrees. 40 degrees here, this angle, 70 and 70, together they're all 180. So that's making sense. So let's go to the next one, this guy, right here. So we've got to take 45, we've got to add it to the other two angles, which is 90, and then the other angle is x, and together all these angles should equal, well, we talked about it, 180, something we need to know. So 45 and 90 is 135, so we have 135 plus x is equal to 180. Okay, that's an x. And when we subtract 135 from each side, that's supposed to be 180, we'll get x is equal to 45. So that's the answer to that one. So I want you to pause the video and try numbers 3 and 4. So it's important that we pause the video and try numbers 3 and 4. I might do another one when there's a time. Okay, so hopefully you tried 3 and 4. I might try to do one more for you. Perhaps maybe we'll do number 6 together. Maybe I'll even do 5 and 6. And hopefully 3 and 4 came out okay, all right? Or maybe you try 5 and 6 and I give you the answers, if that's okay. So I'm just going to tell you the answers to this one. The answer to 5 is x is equal to 63. And the answer to 6 is x is equal to, so go ahead, pause, try it. 60, okay? So that's what you should have gotten for those. I'm not giving the answers to 3 and 4. I'm going to check those as part of you watching this video. Okay, so that's important. Show work for that. So that's pretty straightforward. Maybe you could try this problem, but I don't think it's even necessary for you to try this problem. I think I'd like you to try this problem right here. So let me talk about that for a minute. I'm going to go back and show you something that I did earlier. I did something down here that's pretty important right here. You see this problem over here? We'll highlight it a little bit for you. This guy. Well, what I did here was I took the three angles, but two of them actually happened to be algebraic things. So like here I had a bunch of algebra, and here I had algebra, and here I had a symbol even. And I added those three different circles up to 180. So when you're trying this problem, which is the one I want you to try, because I think you had some practice with these already, we're going to call this one good. I want you to try this one. Now you try number 2. And I want you to give it a shot. Add all that up to 180. It's a little different, but it's still three things adding to 180. This thing plus this thing plus this thing. Pause the video, give it a shot, and then I'll do this word problem down below. So let me just try to make these things show up. I don't know what's going to show up the best here, but I'm going to write in red. This is 62, or I guess green, 62.8. This is 2x minus 44.8. Hopefully your picture comes out a lot better. And that's x. So these three green things have to add up to 180. These three green angles must add up to 180. And these three green angles are as follows. It doesn't matter what order you go. 62.8 plus 2x minus 44.8 plus x. So I'm going to go ahead and combine similar terms and try to solve this equation. That's 3x. And then here I've got to do 62.8 minus 44.8. So I've got 62.8 minus 44.8. That's 0. That's going to be borrowed from, that's going to be 18, I believe. So that's going to be plus 18. That equals 180. Now I can get rid of that 18 by subtracting 18 on both sides. And I'll get 3x is equal to 180 minus 18 is 162. And now I've got to divide both sides to get x. So I've got to get x by dividing both sides. So hopefully they're still teaching you long division. And if we divide 3 into 16, we get 5. We got a remainder here, 3 into 12, it's 54. So I have x is equal to 54 degrees. That's what I have. Hopefully we can go up to the multiple choice and find that as an answer. And we do. So that's the triangle angle sum in a nutshell. And I want to kind of talk a little bit about some other ideas here. But I don't know that we really have time. Unfortunately, I'll probably have to cut it there. So the triangle angle sum, remember the interior angles of a triangle are going to add to 180. And whether it's a bunch of algebraic stuff or whatever is going on, you should still be able to get there. I do want to make one point here actually that sometimes people will question about. See this right here, this negative sign? Well, some people are thinking, well, I'm adding all the angles, why do I have a negative sign? Well, that's because that negative sign is built into that angle. So when you're adding the angle, you're actually adding that negative sign as part of that. So that's something that you just should be aware of. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here, and I will see you in the next video. But you can kind of hopefully get some practice with the Now You Tries, and we'll work on this more in class, and I will talk to you soon.